basically that analogy is saying that in Chicago and a lot of other cities, this avalanche is at the bottom now, and it's causing so much destruction. But you got to see where it all stemmed from. So, you know, it's easy to say, oh, these people in Chicago is killing each other. These people in New York is killing each other. These people is in Atlanta is killing each other. These people in Los Angeles, California is killing each other. Which is true. But how did they arrive to this point? You know, how did they arrive here? Why is it so many guns flooding the cities? You know, why is it so much substances, uncontrolled substances in the cities? You know, why is it so much? You know, why is there so much alcoholism going on in our cities? Why is it prostitution going on in our cities? You see what I'm saying? You can sit back and blame the individual all you want to, but when you're placed in a particular type of environment, you know, this is kind of like putting two 4-year-olds in a room with a loaded gun and then just leaving them in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, eventually they're gonna make their way to the gun. You know, if you put 4-year-olds, you know, and I'm not equating grown people or teenagers or young adults, however you want to put it, to 4-year-olds, but I'm just saying that's basically, you know, what it is, in a sense of you come into this world, you come into this environment, you don't know anything. So the things that you acquire, which is called conceptual integration. So when it comes to conceptual integration, this basically means as you were born into the world, you know, your thought process is empty. As you grow, you're learning things. You know, first it starts off with mom. You know, first it starts off with dad. If you're lucky enough to have both of them in the household, 9 times out of 10, you either had one or the other. You either had your mother growing up. For most people, it's their mother. Some of us was lucky enough to have mother and father. And then some just had father. And then some had neither. And they had, you know, maybe a grandparent, 2 grandparents, or what have you. However it came about, a guardian, however it came about. So the first thing that you're learning as a child is whatever they know. Now, based off what they know, that's kind of your foundation. You know, between the ages of maybe like 1 and 8, you know, I'm not no science buff and all that stuff, but, you know, I think it pretty much says, paraphrasing, your psychology as a person is really determined probably within that time frame of being born to 8 or 9 years old. That's kind of like going to be like the core of your psychology. And if I'm not 100% right about that, you know, I think you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. So within them crucial years, you know, what's being introduced to you. And then even after those years, and a lot of people didn't get a good 1 through 8, you know. But even after those years, let's go 8 to 15, when you really kind of start playing out in the streets and you're not so much in the house, you know. And this all goes back to how you were brought up. Like the way I was brought up, you know, wasn't no plan. Excuse me. Excuse me, y'all. I was eating some grapes. I got a grape skin stuck in my teeth. But how I was brought up, you know, wasn't no staying out late, None of that. You know, when the lights came on, street lights came on, we had to go, we had to come in the house. If we ain't come in the house, then you know, you could chill out in front of that porch. You couldn't be all down the street on other blocks and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now, you know, as a kid, you get mad about that. But once you get older, you know, that was one of the best things she could ever did. Because in my opinion, what that taught me is how to separate myself from the crowd. But see, everyone's parents didn't do that with their kids. So you have some kids at a young age who's 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and then they can roam on other blocks at night on other blocks, and they're only 8, 9, 10 years old, because their family structure isn't set up in a way that, you know, prohibits this type of action, which will follow you throughout your life. You know, it's some people out here that always want to be with the crowd. It's some people that can't separate themselves from the crowd. It's some people that can't be individuals outside of the crowd. They're going to do what the crowd do. And everybody is different psychologically. So you got some strong-minded people, you got some weak-minded people. You know, you got some easily influenced people, you know, mentally. So these are all different variations of things you have to take into account when you're dealing with the individual. So, you know, this is just speaking to his point so far as, you know, the people in Chicago being animals and all that type of stuff. Now, also a thing you gotta get into, keep into recollection, is that Chicago has a history of gang culture. So let's go into that a little bit. You know, I grew up in gang culture. So what do we have when it comes to gang culture? You have a 0 to 8 year old, 8 to 15-year-old growing up in a household that has gang members in it. Now, okay, you can say gangs are bad, boom, boom, boom. Gangs aren't necessarily the problem. The problem is self-destruction of black people who are, you know, who are associated with gangs. You know, we have these tribes or collective of people who call themselves whatever they call themselves, and they're self-destructive toward their own people. But mind you, gangs started off, to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong in any shape, form, or fashion, or, you know, upgrade my perspective, because I'm open-minded to learn more than what I already know, you know, even if it's kind of in contrast to, you know, what it is that, you know, I believe or agree with. But gangs started with you know, protection from racist white people. You see what I'm saying? Gangs started from clicking up because, and back in the maybe the 50s or 60s during the civil rights era, maybe a little bit before then, or maybe a little bit after then, who knows, that these black kids were getting chased by white people for possibly roaming into their white neighborhoods, and or, you know, maybe white people coming to black neighborhoods attacking them, whatever, however it happened. You know, I wasn't born then, so I can only go off based off, you know, what I've heard, what some older people have told me, some documentaries I've seen. But to my knowledge, gangs were created to protect themselves from white people.